Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Madam Hema?
I'm well.
Yeah, well, you look good.
Thank you.
You look fine, better than the professor.
Thank you.
He's an old young man. Mr. Mfune, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. Is that an aircon, Mr. Mfune? Behind you?
Which one? Oh, yeah, thanks.
Okay, good. So right away, we want to begin with the variance analysis. So today we're looking at variance analysis. We are going to do questions on variance analysis, and also we will jump into doing a mix and yield, and then we are going to go to planning and operation. So today we are going to take about 4 hours of learning. It's going to be very, very intensive. So we have I've shared a PDF which has 9 exam questions, which we are going to do today. It's on the WhatsApp group. If you've not checked it yet, you can check it up. Mr. Kasia, welcome. Okay, Mr. Kasia is just joining us. Okay, so right now we can right away go into the question. It's a question that has got all the variances in place. So once we do this question, the next question we do, we go to planning and operation, and then we can end with the mix and yield. So we are going to go straight into the exam questions. So because I'm such a nice man, I have prepared some questions for you, and there we go. Okay. So that's the question we're going to look at today. It says, calculate all variances and prepare an operating statement for the month ended 30th June 20x something. 20x7, yes. So the purpose why I chose this question is because it has all the variances. So we're going to do all the variances there is, and then once we understand what causes them and how we can go about them, then we can move on to another question. So let's begin. So when the question says calculate all variances and prepare an operating statement, it means they're asking you to calculate all cost variances. If the examiner wants you to do mix and yield, it will be specific, he will tell you mix and yield. If you want operation and planning, the examiner will not beat about the bush, he will simply tell you to do operational and planning. So you are at liberty to turn off your cameras while I leave mine on. Okay, so there we go. Okay, good. So if you look at our question here, we have been helped here with the cost card. The standard cost card has been given to us. The standard cost card has been given to us, and I want to begin by looking at the standard cost card. Okay, so let's go. Good. So when you're dealing with every variance question, make sure you understand the cost card. And the cost card is there to help us get out a few things. So for example, in this question, if we're going to prepare the operating statement, if we are preparing under marginal costing principles, then we know the cost card will help us to get the contribution that we need. But if we're preparing under absorption costing principles, which is the AC, that means we're going to go with the net profit, which is also okay. So to get our question underway, we as usual begin with material, because as you can see, we can simplify the cost card the way it is to avoid wasting time. So we're going to do all the variances, but let's begin with material variances. And we'll be discussing a few things as we calculate. So for example, we are being told to work out all the variances, and we begin with material variances. So a material variance is a variance which has got two things. It's a variance which has two things. It has got what we call pricing and usage. So there's price and usage. So let's go, we begin with material variance. So these are cost variances, just to remind you in case So we are dealing with cost variances. Okay, so these are cost variances. So we are beginning with material. Now material has got two sub variances. Material has got price and usage. So we're going to begin with price. When we talk about material price variance, we are talking about how much it cost us to buy these materials in comparison to what it should have cost us. That's what we mean by material price variance. So usually when we did the budgeting, you remember we talked about the budgets being made at the start of the period, and then also you compare at the end of the period the budgeted results with the actual results to see if there's any difference. Now that the difference we talked about last time, we said that when there's a difference, as a company, you must take action. You must take action in that you have to put up measures that are going to ensure that those differences are minimized or eliminated. So that was the whole idea of what we discussed last time, and is what we'll be doing right now. So let's go. So a material price variance, as usual, we have the format here. Let's go to the question and then we start calculating. So there, so you see the cost card tells us the direct materials are going at how much? 0.5 kilos. At how much per kilo? 0.5 kilos. At how much per kilo? At 4 kwacha per kilo. So I'm going to need you to turn on your speaker so that you should be responding. So how do we know the costs? We know the cost by looking at the materials which were purchased. And then we compare with the money spent on the material to what it should have cost if we use the budget. So how many kgs in total did they buy of this material? How many kgs in total did they buy of this material? How many kgs in total did they buy of this material? You see, materials consumed in production amounted to how many kgs? 200 kgs. How much did they use when they bought these materials? They used 9,800. So what we want to find out is, according to the budget, we've been told that they were supposed to be buying 0.5 kilos at 4 kwacha per kilo. So we want to see whether this price, the 9,800, is okay, is in accordance with the budget, or is better than the budget, or worse than the budget. So let's go. So we're going to say the same thing. We're going to write on our format. We say material. How many kgs? 2,300 kgs should cost. You see, according to the budget, this should cost how much per kg? How much per kg according to the budget? Mr. Mfune, Madam Emma, Mr. Chiro, how much per kg should these materials cost according to budget? I'm just showing you the budget. There we go. We have the cost card here. Kindly respond, do not go mute. There we go. You see, we've been told 4 kwacha per kilo. Per kg is 4 kwacha. So they bought how many kgs? They bought 2,300 kgs. So I want to compare these kgs, what they should have cost at the budget in comparison to what they actually cost.
Able to
so
see.
We multiply that figure by the 2.5 by
What
the 4
what are you
per
able
kg.
to see? What can you see?
I'm able to see the cameras are on and.
Yes, so there we go. Okay, so we multiply this by 4 kwacha per kg because according to the budget, they should be buying at 4 kwacha per kg. So when we multiply 23 by 4 kwacha, how much are we getting? How much are we getting?
9,200.
Okay, so there we go. We got our 9,200 kwacha. So these are kwachas. So now, but did costs, according to the actual results, how much did it cost? So this one, the material did cost how much?
9,800.
9,800. You see? So according to the budget, these cages should have costed them how much? This figure, 9,200. But they spent more than the budget by how much? By how much?
600.
By 600.
600.
Yes.
Yes.
So 600 kwacha. So is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. So it's an adverse variance. 600 kwacha adverse. Of course, the kwacha is there on top. So if you want to, can't include the kwacha there. Okay. So now, what we are interested in is not why this variance is not the number. Where the examiner usually is interested in you telling them the reason for this variance. What could make the price variance to be adverse? So there we go. What can make this price variance to be adverse? So number one, it could be, if it is adverse, it could be price increase. They're just normal things. There could be some price increase. This is what the examiner wants you to know. Number two could be even careless purchasing, where people are just careless when it comes to purchasing. So careless purchasing. We can also talk about change in material standards. Change in material standards. They wanted to be using 0.5 kilos per unit, but now they're using 0.6 kilos per unit. So that can make the material be consumed more than they planned, which may result in them buying more material than expected. So change in material standard. See, those are the possible reasons why an adverse variance for price of material can do. Now, sometimes it will not be adverse. Sometimes the price variance may be favorable. So when the material price variance is favorable, there are also other reasons why it is favorable. So when it is favorable, you may talk about things such as these ones. Number one, if it's favorable, we can talk about this one. If it's favorable, what can make the price be favorable could be unforeseen discounts. You just go in there, they give you some beautiful discounts, unexpected. The price becomes favorable. You spend less. Sometimes it could be, see this one, there was careless in purchasing. Now this one, it could be great care in purchasing. So there could be some greater care in purchasing. If there's somebody who's responsible when purchasing materials. And the other reason could be also, see this other reason, there was change in standard, material standard. The same reason can also apply. There could be some change in standard material. You are using 0.5 kilos, now you begin to use 0.4 kilos, which makes you spend less. So change in standard material or in material standards, whatever you would like to put first. Okay, so those are the reasons. Number two, let's go to material usage. You see, so we are done with price. Now we go to usage. So what is the material usage variance? Now, usage looks at what they used in comparison to what they should have used. This is what we are saying should and did. We are comparing the budget and the actual. Okay, so let's go to the usage. What we have on the usage. On the usage variance, if we look at our question right there, what's our usage? According to the cost card, we were being told they were supposed to be using how many kilos? 0.5 kilos. Have you seen? So per unit, they're supposed to be using 0.5 kilos. Have you seen? And the budgeted production was how much? Was 5.1, which for now we don't care so much because we're going to go with the actual production. We will go with the actual production. So let's go. This actual production, we want to see what they used if it was going to be in line with what they should have used. You see? So they used how many kgs? They used how many kgs? They used They used 2,000, no. They used 2,300 kgs there. These are the kgs they used. To make how many units? 4,800 kgs. Have you seen? So I want to see how many kgs were they supposed to use to make these units according to the budget. Because actually they used 2, 3, but they should have used how many? We want to see. So let's go. So we are going to say the 4,850 units. Variance analysis is a free mark in the exam. If you don't pass variances, you will never pass any topic. We have 4,850 units should use. Have you seen that? According to budget, should use how many? Should use, you multiply this by 0.5 kilos. 0.5 kgs per unit. Have you seen? So how much are we talking about here? If you multiply by 0.5 kgs.
2,425.
2,425 kgs. This is what you're supposed to use. Have you seen that? Now, in reality, they did use how many? 2,300 kgs. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing, you see? It's a good thing because they used less than the budget by how much?
125.
125 kgs. Favorable, you know. You always you always indicate whether it's favorable or adverse and show if it's the kgs or you show the units every single time. Now, one rule: you never report variances. You don't report variances in units. You have to report variances in kgs. So we have to multiply these 125 kgs with how much? With the standard price per kg. What was the standard price per kg? Standard price per kg is simply 4 kwacha. You see? So we multiply these ones by 4 kwacha per kg, such that kg and kg goes, what you're going to remain with is the money. How much money do we have?
500.
500 kwacha. Favorable. So they saved 500 kwacha. Now, you see, what could make the usage to be good? You see, the pricing is bad, is adverse, but the usage is good. So sometimes it is related. Sometimes it could be that the price was of white material, so it was expensive. Have you seen?
Mm-hmm.
The material was of high quality, so it was expensive. As a result, it resulted into a favorable usage. It's like using breakfast, mini meal, and dollar meal. When you buy dollar meal, it's cheaper. If you buy breakfast, it's expensive, but it lasts longer than dollar meal. Are you seeing? Those are the possible causes. But let's talk about other possible causes of favorable price material usage variance. Number one could be that what we've talked about here. Material was of high quality material. So it could be that there was a high quality material used. You see? That's why they have a favorable usage. And then sometimes it could be that they were just being more efficient in the use of materials. There was some efficient use of materials. They were not misusing materials. So there was some efficient use. In the end, they used less than they should have used. And also it could be that the other possible reason for this one could be that there were no errors, reduced errors. So maybe they had reduced errors. You see? Reduced errors in what? Reduced errors in allocating material to jobs. So this could have been all the reasons. Materials to jobs. So you've got to look at the broader picture. You see? So see also whether they are related and etc. But sometimes it is not always that the material balance is favorable. Sometimes the material usage balance may be adverse. So what can make the material balance to be adverse? Sometimes it could be the opposite, poor quality material. You see? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be this guy is bought the poor quality material. So it can be adverse. Yeah. And then sometimes it could also be that there were too much excessive waste. Excessive waste in the use of material can be a reason why people are just not caring. Have you seen that? And then sometimes it could be also stricter quality control. You see? Yeah. So all those things may cause this variance. So you've got to know what makes the material to be adverse or to be. And then sometimes this variance may be related to labor. Sometimes if you are dealing with people who are not so skillful, poor quiet labor force. Have you seen? They just don't know how to do their job, so they end up misusing materials. So open your minds in the exam. Don't restrict yourself to these ideas, suggestions we are giving you. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one we are working with is you see, we've got material, price, and usage done. So now we go to the other one is labor. Now, labor is a variance which has got two sub-variances also. For now, we'll say two. So we have labor. Now, labor also, we're going to talk about two. There's what we call the rate, how much are we paying, and efficiency. How fast are we finishing our tasks? Okay, so there we go. So labor rate, we're looking at the rate. How much are we paying? Have you seen? So here, the rate, if you're talking about the labor rate, one thing you must know is that the rate, your focus should be on what? Should be on hours. Hours worked. How many hours worked? How much did we spend? Have you seen? Think about hours. Then you multiply hours by cost per hour. Because you want to know how much it costs, what is the rate. So let's go to the question and find out the labor rate. So if we check on our question, here we compare the actual results to the standard. So let's go. So what is our labor? We've been told in the question that wages, it is 2 hours. So each unit is spending how many hours? 2 hours. At how much per hour? At 2 kwacha per hour. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Which in the end, they're paying 4 kwacha in total. So here we simply bring the number of hours worked. How many hours did they use to produce these units they produced? See, labor hours paid for amounted to how many? 8,000 hours.
8,000.
You see?
Mm.
But they amounted to 8,000 hours. But how much did it cost them to on this 8,000 hours? 16,800. So what do we do? We want to compare what it should have cost them if they had used what? The budget. So according to the budget, those 8,500 hours should cost how much? According to the budget. So according to the budget, we've been told it is 2 kwacha per 2 hours at 2 kwacha per hour. Have you seen?
Mm-hmm.
So the budget says that each hour is costing 2 kwacha. So we want to compare what's happening here. So what we do, we simply get the actual results, the same actual results there. Okay, yeah, there we go. Hours, we've got how many hours? We've got 8,500 hours. We say these hours should cost how much?
2 kwacha.
They should cost, you multiply by 2 kwacha per hour, which automatically gives us how many? 16,000. Have you seen that? Is it 16,000?
17,000.
17,000.
Not 17.
How much? 17,000?
17,000.
Okay, we've got our 17,000 right there. Good. 17,000 kwacha. Have you seen? We've got our kwacha. But did cost how much? So you compare what they did cost. It did cost 16,800. You see? So that's how much it costs. So how much do we have here? We've got a favorable variance of 200 kwacha. You see? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It's already favorable.
It's a good thing. You see? Now, see, this is a favorable variance here we are dealing with. So what the examiner also is interested in is what makes a labor rate to be favorable. What do you think, Madam Emma? Why could the labor rate be favorable? We wanted to pay 17, but we end up paying 16. What could be the reason? What could be the reason? You wanted to pay 17, but now you end up paying 16. What could be the reason for this?
It could
They
be
could have used cheap labor.
Cheap labor, okay? So yes, cheap labor could be one of the causes. Yes, they could have used cheap labor, yes. Cheap labor cannot be ruled out. Anything else that they could have that could have caused this one apart from cheap labor? Anything else apart from cheap labor? Anything else apart from cheap labor? Of course, there could be other reasons, but sometimes the labor rate will not always be favorable. Sometimes it may be adverse, but when it is adverse, there are also another reason. Sometimes
Competent workers.
Workers who are qualified usually you pay more money because they're going to school, they're not sleeping on the streets. So they have a higher bargaining power. So you don't pay less money for getting qualified individuals who are very, very competent. You pay more. So you only pay less.
Maybe motivated employees.
Motivated employees. So how does motivation affect the payment? You tell me. Just because
They work with
give more money if you're motivated.
Maybe they work with the higher level of efficiency.
It still has got nothing to affect the rate. It can affect the efficiency, not the rate. Whether an employee is motivated or not, you still pay them the same amount of money, so they don't affect the rate. Okay, so their wage increase, if the adverse, the labor variance is adverse, there's something like wage increase. Salaries just went up. The government just comes up and says the minimum wage should be blah, 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 and then you pay more. So you've got to just think about these things in reality, the way they happen. No need to panic in the exam. So apart from the labor rates, now there's another thing we have to look at here. We're going to also work out something else. The labor has got another variance called efficiency. So let's look at the efficiency. So efficiency, now you see, when we say efficiency variance, the efficiency variance, we want to say here that efficiency variance is based on actual production. How long should it have taken? Have you seen? What should have taken you to produce how many units? 4,850 units. To what it actually took you when producing them. So you're talking about the hours also here. It's all in hours. Think about hours. How many hours were they supposed to use to make 4,850 units? And we look at how many hours they used. Then you're going to tell whether they're efficient or not. See that? That's the efficiency balance there. It is also in hours. So what do we do? If we go to the efficiency balance, we say, how many hours should it have taken them to make how many units? 4,850 units. Have you seen? So these units should take, we've been told it is 2 hours per unit. Have you seen? 2 hours per unit. So when we multiply 4,850 by 2, how much are we already getting right now? How much do we have?
9,700.
We've got our 9,700 hours. You see? These are hours. Remember to put units in management accounting, performance management. So those are the hours it should have taken them. But you see, how many hours did it actually take them? Have you seen? How many hours did it actually take them? So it did take how many? How many hours did it actually take them? So here I want to show you something here where most of the students make mistakes. Because the examiner is not a fool, he knows some students are overexcited and overconfident, they are going to miss this point. So he puts it in the exam. See, labor hours paid for amounted to, see, 8,500, you see? But again, look at this, actual operating hours amounted to 8,000 hours. When you are working out the efficiency, you look at the actual hours worked, not paid. Have you seen?
Yes.
The actual hours worked for those units were how many? 8,000. But they end up paying for how many? For 8,500. So there was some idle time here. So we ask, when we deal with efficiency, we go with the actual hours worked. They worked for 8,000 hours. Remember that point, it may just mean the difference between 49 and 50. Okay, so there we go. We have our 8,000 hours. So it means there we have a variance. How many? What's our variance? We have 1,600 hours. These are favorable hours. You see? Because according to the budget, should have taken them 9,700. So these guys were efficient. They were fast. So we multiply this by the standard rate always. The standard rate, we've been told it was 2 kwacha per hour. There we go. See? Standard rate. So the standard rate there was 2 kwacha per hour, which is 2 kwacha per hour. So we multiply by kwacha 2 per hour, such that hour and hour goes, then we have our variance there. How much is our variance? 3,400.
3,400.
You see, variance analysis is a bonus in the exam. There's no way you can fill an exam which has variance analysis inside. It's not possible. So there you go. Now the examiner is interested in, sometimes he asks, why is this favorable? You see, the labor efficiency variance could be favorable if output is produced more quickly. You see? So the guys are faster. So output here, you see, output produced more quickly here. You see? So output is being produced more quickly than expected. And then sometimes it could be that there are reduced errors. Are you seeing? Yes, reduced errors in what? In allocating time to jobs. Because sometimes if you have a confused supervisor who has no idea what it is to manage time, you always be running out of time and end up working overtime. But sometimes things are not always so nice as they are in this question. Sometimes there's what we call adverse variance. So when the labor efficiency is adverse, it could simply mean the opposite of what we've talked about. It could mean that now output is being produced slower than expected. Have you seen? So there could be things such as lost time in excess of standard. So lost time in excess of standard. All those could be the reasons in excess of standard. All those could be the reasons why it can be adverse. And also there could be output lower than expected. Have you seen that? So it could be output being produced slower than expected, slower production. There are lots of reasons that you can give. And then also just the inexperienced labor force. Are you seeing? So usually this variance is seen by the labor rate. You find that the labor rate is favorable, and then the efficiency is what? Is adverse. It could be because this is favorable because you got the cheap guys. And now this one becomes adverse because these cheap guys are inexperienced. Sometimes. Have you seen that? So be able to see whether this is favorable and this is adverse. You can argue in that line. But if this is favorable and this is favorable, that point does not make sense. Are you seeing that?
Okay.
Yes. Now, there's something that I deliberately didn't want to look at, but now let's look at it. So in less than 1 minute, we are going to continue with the next session with idle time. And read. Turn on to the next part. We are now going to turn on to idle time. So stay tuned. The video will still continue with idle time.